Hi, I am Helen the Rooftop Knitter, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make this cardigan with ice cream cone sleeves with no buttons. It would fit most sizes from small to medium because it's like a cape in a chunky and oversized style. We are going to need 700 grams of size 5 yarn, 300 grams in multicolor, 400 grams in white, then 7mm knitting needles in straight and circular, a 5mm crochet hook, yarn needle, scissors, measuring tape, and markers. I am going to start using an old pattern as a reference. I made this cardigan a long time ago with the same kind of yarn, size 5, and with a 7.5mm needles. So this is 7.5 for a size 5 yarn. So in proportion, for 10 stitches it was 6.5 centimeters, and for the 58 to 56 centimeters for the bag I need, it would be about 90 stitches. So I already got 90 stitches here, and I'm going to start with a rib, with the lower rib for the back, in elastic stitch one by one. So this would be one knit and one purl, one knit and one purl. It's just alternating knitting and purling until the end, and I will need probably 8 to 10 rows to complete the rib. I have completed 8 rows of elastic stitch one by one for the lower rib, which is 5 centimeters, and I will continue just purling to complete a very big square for the back. There won't be any increase or decrease, it's just a very big square or rectangle if you wanna call it properly. Probably about 60 to 70 centimeters long. So let's start then. For the first row, we're going to start knitting the whole row. For the second row, is going to be knitting as well. And from now on, for the back, what we are going to do is just knitting every single row until completing the 7 centimeters for the square for the back. So we will repeat all these rows, just knitting until we reach the 70 centimeters. You can see that all these curves are very noticeable already, so that's what we have to do. That's what we're aiming for. Just knitting, knitting, knitting to make these curves more noticeable. I've just realized that 70 centimeters is too long, so I think that 60 centimeters is enough. And I will start closing the job, well, to close the back as well. So let's start closing it. This will be one knit, two knits, and then mounting the first stitch on top of the second one. One more knit and the first on top of the second one. Knit and mounting it on top. Let's continue this way until closing the whole job. And after that, we will start with the 2 parts for the front. Once the whole square or the whole rectangle is closed, let's close the last stitch and reserve this piece for later. I ended up having 66 stitches roughly for the back, so it's a little bit wider than I expected, but it's fine because we won't notice it when we sew the sleeves. And now to start shaping the both fronts, I had to split the job in 3. So these 2 parts are for the shoulders, and this one at the middle for the neck. So this will be 30 stitches each section. 30 stitches for the neck and 30 stitches each shoulder. Let's cast 30 stitches then for each front. Now, with the 30 stitches, let's complete 8 rows of elastic rig 1 by 1, exactly the same like for the back. And after that, let's continue knitting every single row until reaching the same height that for the back. Now I've got 3 very big pieces, 3 very big rectangles, 2 of these little ones for the front and the one for the back. And it's time to join the shoulders together. So for that, I already got the 30 stitches here marked beforehand, as we can remember. And what we have to do now is matching all these stitches. You see, they're very noticeable. It's like a very long chain to the ones to the back. So let's insert the hook in the first stitch and match it with the one at the back. I'm using just the same piece of yarn. I don't need to attach a new one. I'm going to make a slip stitch. Then next one, grabbing the second stitch and matching it with the second one. Then the next one, and let's continue this way until both shoulders are joined together. This is how the body looks after joining both fronts with the back. For now, I will leave it to continue with the sleeves, and after making the sleeves, I'm going to knit a rib around the front and the neck. But for now, let's put this aside and start with the sleeves. For the sleeves, I have chosen this stitch, ice cream cone stitch. It's very beautiful, and these are 27 stitches. So 27 stitches are roughly 20 centimeters width. And this stitch is a multiple of 12. I allow a couple more of stitches here, probably 3 more, because I'm knitting straight. But we are going to be knitting in circular with needle for circular knitting, so it's going to be a multiple of 12. I wanna repeat this pattern probably 4 times, so that would be 4 cones to go around the arm, so that will be 12 stitches multiplied by 4. That's 48 stitches. I think it's not enough, so probably 12 more. There will be 60 stitches for the sleeve. Let's cast 60 stitches then. Now with 7mm needles for circular knitting, I'm going to start casting the 60 stitches we need. Here are the 60 stitches then. So for the first row, let's start knitting 11 stitches. 2, 3. It's a little bit tight because it's the first row, but the following rows are going to be a little bit looser. Don't worry about that. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. After 11 knits, it's going to be one yarn over to the front for one increase, one knit, and another yarn over. So now again, 11 knits, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. One more, 11, and the increases again. Yarning over to the front for one increase, one knit, and yarning over again. So this will be the pattern, 11 knits, this is going to be like this. 11 knits, yarning over, one knit, and one yarn over. We're going to repeat this pattern until we get to the other side to complete the row. I'm about to complete the first row, and I only got one stitch left. So these were 11 knits, one yarn over, knit, and now let's join both parts together like this with another yarn over. So now last yarning over, and now 11 purl for the second row. The second row is going to start with 11 purl. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And also, it's always good practice to put a marker at the beginning of the job, because since it's circular knitting, there is no way to know where it starts and where it ends. So it's better practice marking it, the start. So now after 11 purl, it's going to be 3 knits, 1, 2, and 3 on top of the of the 2 increases and the one in the middle. So again, 11 purl, and on top of the increases, so you can see here the 2 increases and the one at the middle, these 3 stitches are going to be 3 knits. Let's continue this way with 11 purls and 3 knits until completing the whole row. I have adapted this pattern for circular knitting, so we are in the 3rd row and we have to knit 11 stitches now. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, 11. And after that, let's make 1 increase, yarning over, then 3 knits, 1, 2, and 3, and another yarning over to the front for another increase. And then we will continue with the 11 knits. So now, in summary, for odd rows, we're going to be knitting 11, then yarning over for 1 increase, and then knitting for the stitches at the middle of the cone, because this one is going to be the cone. And this one is like the ice cream ball, and for the ice cream ball is always knitting for the odd rows and purling for the even ones until we complete 8 rows. The 9th row, it's a little bit special because we have to close the balls and start another ball on top of the cone. In row number 9, we are going to close ice cream balls and cones to continue with to start with another set of ice cream cones. So let's continue this way, following this pattern, increasing the stitches here for the cone and continuing knitting and purling for the ice cream balls until we get to row number 9. So see you in row number 9. I'm in row number 9 already, and what I'm going to do now is closing up all these stitches, 11 stitches in only one, on top of this bead. All these were 11 stitches in purling and knitting, and now in row number 9 it's time to closing them up. So I'm going to close 11 stitches all together. For that, I will need a crochet. So we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Then closing everything together. And let's make this very tight to close the cone and make it beautiful. And now yarning over for 1 increase, and then knitting 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then yarning over and closing this again. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, 11. Let's make it very tight so it will look more beautiful. So this bit again, yarning over, nine knits, four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and yarning over. And then again we are going to close the 11 stitches. We're going to continue this way, closing the 11 stitches and then yarning over 9 knits and yarning over until we complete row number 9. After completing row number 9, I'm going to continue with number 10, and for that I'm going to knit one stitch, the one on top of the stitch that grab all the 11 stitches together. So this would be one knit, and after that I will complete 11 purl. After row 10, basically is repeating the same pattern like in row number 1. It would be 11 knits and then one yarning over, one knit and one yarning over. Then all the rows that are even, always 11 purls on top of the ones for the cone, for the ball, sorry, and this one for the cone are going to be knitting. Let's repeat this pattern until we have probably 4 sets of ice creams, and let's see how it goes. I have completed about 33 to 34 centimeters long for the ice cream cones, and these are 4 sets of cones. This would be 1, 2, 3, and 4. This one will be the 4th set, and I will close it with you together just to refresh how we have to knit the pattern. This one, the one I'm going to knit now, would be this row number 9, to join all these ice cream ball together, and then closing this cone as well. So this one is the cone. You can clearly see that is the cone. So we start with the yarn at the front, and then knit, and this would add an additional stitch here. So that's one increase for this hole to shape the cone. This will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, yarning over for another hole, another increase, and then we have to close the ice cream ball This would be 11 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And then with the yarn at the front, we're going to yarn over through the back because we need another increase here, and pull through. Then I always tie it up to make it look nicer. Then yarning over again for another increase, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Yarning over again, so closing the ice cream ball. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And then pulling through the back because we need another increase here. Pulling very well, and another increase. Let's continue this way, shaping the ice cream cones until we finish this row. I'm going to stop here with 4 sets. I think it's enough because I'm going to complete the rest of the sleeve with knit stitch in white to make it nicer. Just keep in mind that the last row in colors has to be this one because that is the end of the cone, and this is where the shape ends as well. Always follow this pattern and repeat according to how many sets of ice creams you want. Once I completed this row to close the cones and the ice cream balls, I will start again with the white. And this would be just purling. Now just keep in mind that here we have to add one more stitch like this. So let's make a small knot here at the back. Now let's continue just purling the whole row. For the following row, let's knit the whole row, and from now on we're going to alternate knitting and purling, one row knitting and the next one purling until we reach the desired height for the sleeve. Let's just alternate one row knitting and one row purling in white. At 40 centimeters of the job for the sleeves, I'm going to start closing it, because here I'm going to knit the wrist, which is going to be about 5 to 6 centimeters, probably 7, but that will be later because I want to close all this sleeve in a rib for the wrist, and the result is going to be a very chunky and fat sleeve with a very tight rib for the wrist here. Okay, so as a coincidence, I completed 5 rows of these curls here for the sleeve, and now I will start closing the job. This would be 1, 2 knits, and passing the first stitch on top of the second one. One more knit, and mounting the first on the second one. Again, we will repeat this stitch until we end up here to the other end to close the whole sleeve. Once I got only one stitch left because I closed the whole job, what I'm going to do is joining the sleeves to the body. For that, I will do it through the back of the job. So fold it over, and I will use exactly the same stitch here. Before starting, I split the job in 2 parts. So this is 30 stitches for half of the sleeve and 30 stitches for the other one. I will use this as a reference because it's going to be easier this way. So let's start now. With a crochet hook, I'm going to start joining the sleeve with the body. I'm going to grab the stitch from here. So this would be grabbing this stitch and joining it with a slip stitch. Let's continue. We're going to match this stitch with the following one, which is this one. Then next one, and then let's join it with a slip stitch. We will continue this way until getting to the other side. So half of the slip first and then the other half, because 30 stitches are going to be joined to this part and the other one to the back. That's why I split the job in two. So let's continue then until we sew the whole sleeve to the body. And also, let's join the front and the back of the body through the sides. So it's matching the stitch at the front with the one to the back and slip stitch. Now let's start shaping the wrist. I'm going to do the wrist with another color, with the white. And for that, let's start casting stitches from here. So let's cast the 60 stitches from here. That's one. Then two. Three. And so forth. Let's continue casting the stitches very tight. Until completing the 60 stitches for the wrist. Now, with the 60 stitches already in the needles, let's start with a rib of probably 5 to 6 centimeters long, and it's going to be a rib one by one. But in the first row, I'm going to make some decreases to make this wrist very tight. So let's start joining 2 stitches together in one knit, and then 2 stitches together in a purl, 2 stitches in a knit, and then 2 stitches in a purl. Let's continue this way until getting to the other side. The result should be 30 stitches because we are joining them 2 by 2. So see you when I finish the first row. Once the first row is completed and the result is 30 stitches, let's continue the rest of the rows in elastic rib one by one. So that will be 1 knit and 1 purl, 1 knit and 1 purl until we complete 3 rows for the wrist. After 10 rows, I already got 6 centimeters long, and it's time to close the wrist. So this would be 1 knit and 1 purl. Then passing the first stitch on top of the second one. 1 more stitch and passing the first stitch on top of the second one. We will continue this way, mounting the first stitch on top of the second one until we complete the whole wrist. And then we will do the same for the other sleeve. Once I got only one stitch left, it's time to close it up. And for that I will need a yarn needle and I'm going to insert the needle in the first stitch from back to front. Then inserting the needle into the loop, pulling, and then I will go back through the next stitch like this, and then I will start with the weaving to disguise this bit of yarn. This will give us a very nice finish. So let's repeat all the steps for the sleeve for the other side. Now that I have both sleeves, I'm going to cast the stitches here around the front and the neck for the front rib. So let's start then. Let's start casting the stitches through the front end, through the front of the job. For that I'm going to use a 5mm crochet hook. You can use any other size you have at home, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to insert the hook into the first stitch here. It's going to be very easy to cast the stitches because all these chains and gaps are very noticeable, so it won't be that hard. So let's pull the yarn. Small knot here. And that will be the first stitch. Then we will continue casting the stitches until we get to the other side of the front. Just remember that has to be tight, otherwise it won't look good. So try to tighten it up. So see you when we get to the other side of the rib. Once I got all the stitches for the front rib, I ended up having 182, but it doesn't really matter how many you have. Let's start knitting a rib in 1x1 elastic stitch. So first stitch is going to be knit and then purl. Knit and purl. I will continue this way until completing a few rows. Probably 4 to 6 will be enough. Let's see how it goes. I've completed the whole rib already. This is how it looks. It's looking very good. Then cut in the yarn, and with the yarn needle, let's disguise this last bit of yarn. So let's close the job, and then let's do some weaving here so nobody will know that that this is the end of the job. Let's continue this way, disguising all loose pieces of yarn, including these beads. And this will be the final step, weaving all loose yarns. This is the end of the tutorial. I hope you like it. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching. See you next time.